Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the graduation ceremony for graduates of the Faculties of Asian and International Studies, Business and Hotel Management, Education, Education and the Arts, Engineering and Applied Science, Humanities, and Nursing and Health Sciences. In a few minutes, the graduation ceremony will commence. The procession of staff will enter first. After a brief pause, the university fanfares will announce the entrance of the dais party. I will signal to you by this action that you are to rise and remain standing until both the staff procession and the dais party are seated. Please do not stand until I ask you to. May I also remind you that flash photography is prohibited in this auditorium. For the mutual comfort and enjoyment of all members of the audience, the university requests your cooperation in observing this rule. Thank you.
Mr. Norm Fussell, Deputy Chancellor, fellow members of Council, Foundation Chancellor Sir Theodore Bray, Professor Roy Webb, Vice-Chancellor, the Most Reverend John Bathersby, Catholic Archbishop of Brisbane, Ms. Judith Spence, Member of the Legislative Assembly, Councillor Graham Quirk, representatives of the Brisbane Consular Corps, staff and students of the University, special guests, Ms. Janet Turner Hospital, and Mr. Robert Browning, and members of their families, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. It's the custom for Griffith University and its guests to gather to celebrate the conferral of academic awards on its graduates. The occasions are significant for our graduates, their families and friends, and for the entire university community. As Chancellor, it's my pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to everyone present. You may be aware that Griffith University bestows its degree of Doctor of the University on recipients who have achieved particular distinction. Tonight we honour Ms. Janet Turner Hospital, one of Australia's most widely acclaimed authors. More will be said about this later in the proceedings. In the meantime, I extend to her a special welcome. We're delighted that she's here with us. Her presence, we are certainly able to say, adds in our eyes to the importance of the occasion. Griffith University over the years has achieved a great deal. It continues in the progressive and innovative style with which it has come to be so closely associated. While committed to the ideal of academic excellence, it accepts an obligation to place its considerable cultural and intellectual resources at the service of the wider community. It has found its role as a multi-campus university serving the Brisbane Gold Coast corridor. This has become the fastest growing area in Australia. To accommodate the new growth, a special task force has been convened to plan an additional campus between Brisbane and the Gold Coast to provide educational opportunities for residents of that region. The range of graduates honoured tonight demonstrates how broad and diverse modern university education has become. I'm sure it will be of interest to you to have an outline of some of the developments which are taking place within the 7 faculties represented tonight. Those faculties are Asian and International Studies, Business and Hotel Management, Engineering and Applied Science, Education, Education and the Arts, Humanities, and Nursing and Health Sciences. The Faculty of Asian and International Studies is one of the university's original academic divisions. It helps to mark our special place in the tertiary education scene. Within this faculty, its Centre for Applied Linguistics and Languages has been awarded a $1 million 3-year contract for the academic management of new English tests for migrants. Also, new courses are planned within the faculty for 1996, including a new stream of Vietnamese studies. The Faculty of Humanities is another of the original academic divisions of the university. It and the Faculty of Asian and International Studies are to join with the Queensland University of Technology and the University of Queensland in operating a new key centre for cultural and media policy. This is one of 7 key centres recently established by the federal government. Next year, the Faculty of Humanities will introduce new degree courses in Australian Studies and in Justice Administration. The Faculty of Education is the largest within Griffith University, and recently it has developed a number of new courses in response to the growing need for qualified professionals in child care. Child and family studies are represented amongst these, and new master's degrees in education are offered. The Faculty of Education and the Arts at the Gold Coast campus has also expanded its offerings this year. The faculty's first doctoral students graduate this evening. They represent the vanguard of a postgraduate research enrolment that has tripled in the last 2 years. Tonight also sees our first graduates certificated in teaching English as a second language and special needs education, and our first graduate diploma in film and television music. Since 1990, when it commenced teaching, the Faculty of Nursing and Health Sciences has experienced rapid growth in student numbers. To meet demand, it will be establishing in 1996 a number of new courses covering a wide range. The Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science, which is established on the Gold Coast campus, has experienced substantial growth in 1995. The construction of the new engineering complex is well underway to cater for the enrolments which this year have almost doubled and for the similar projected growth for 1996. A number of new courses have been developed, catering for a wide spread of studies. The Faculty of Business and Hotel Management has enjoyed a successful year in 1995. A new School of Applied Psychology was established, and a new training restaurant for the faculty's Bachelor of Hotel Management students opened in August. The faculty will introduce new courses in 1996. Let me return now to the students who, having completed their studies, are here to receive their awards. Their attainments deserve our warm approbation. Through perseverance, they have reached the level of learning demanded of them in their chosen fields. We trust that the discipline they have shown and the skills they now possess will be the foundation for successful careers. They are members of a growing band of Griffith graduates who bring distinction to themselves and their university. We all join in celebrating their success. As we continue with this evening's proceedings, I express warm congratulations to each of them and extend our best wishes for their lives ahead. I now call on the deans to present the graduates from their respective faculties who are to receive their awards at this ceremony.
Chancellor, may I present the Dean of the Faculty of Asian and International Studies.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Modern Asian Studies. Mark Alt. David Campbell. Katrina Cutler. Leisha Eggink. Alison Filebush. Rowan Gillette. Yvette Imay. Mark Leo. Rosalind Leong. Patrick McKee. Vanessa Moller. Rebecca Ann Murphy. Andrea Malonas. Joel Northcote. Adriana Turbe de Scaceri. Michelle Watson. Simon Watt. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of International Business. Rochelle Affleck. Peter Allison. Alison Corcoran. Jessica Quindung. Sandra Driscoll. Maria Katina Elia. Sarah Ferguson. Deborah Flannery. David Hogan. Jiwen Long. Jane Moody. Aria Mungsunti. James Murphy. Melissa Newland. Karen Parker. Susan Peterson. Cindy Rose. Pei Chun Tang. Anthony Whitmore. Jason Woods. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Arts in International Studies, Bruce Redpath. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates for the Faculty of Asian and International Studies.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Business. Tracy Andrew. Ian Barfoot. Danny Balderson. Philip Campbell Wilson. Kelly Clifford. Mark Dewar. Kate Hanson. Brendan Hoville. Giselle Holt. Mariana Horvat. Matthew Hulls. Sandy Jass. Perry Jenks. Lee Chen Ko. Julian Croendle. Tanya Lamb. Han Wai Lin. Peter Mitchell. Erica O'Keefe. Nicole Palmentia. Dita Reed. Shelley Ann Ross. Tanya Skews. Tiffany Taylor. Shane Thomas. Derek Voller. Craig Wallace. Chi Yung Wen. Simone Wieda. Mark Wilson. Peggy Wong. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the award of the Bachelor of Hotel Management. Carly Anderson. Christina Blazevic. Moon Yi Choi. Carl Clayson. Reen Klamau. Rinaldi Junas. Steve Forster. Margaret Hutchison. Vivian Lee. Fiona Nikulski. Claudio Raiola. Belinda Wilson. Benny Wong. And a David Ray. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Business and Hotel Management.
Chancellor, the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Education.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Adult and Vocational Teaching. Andrew Agrotis. Susan Eyre. Peter Ball. Lynn Blair. Philip Charlton. Tracy Coogan. Trevor Harrison. Susan Harrower. Sally Hamer. Nolene Hulse. David Hunter. Paula Koyman. Peter Lean. Barry Mannion. Trevor McVicker. Lyle Mumford. Barbara Murfitt. John Pasqua. Kevin Smith. Peter Standerwick. Samantha Steele. Maggie Whitney. Chancellor, I now present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Justice Administration. Kylie Allen. Leanne Duggan. John Folland. Joanne Gardiner. Mark Henderson. Brad Lingard. Matthew Vanderbilt. Chancellor, I now present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Education. Robert Antcliffe. Charmaine Brandon. Sue Brayton. Kathleen Brooks. Katrina Chapman. Michael Clancy. Belinda Coolahan. Donna Henrahan. Kerry Hopkins. Anita Lamb-Nichols. Rachel Lethbridge. Jodie Logan. Barbara Major. Adam McClure. Sue Monday. Deborah Page. Susan Peters. Asbjorn Peterson. Deanne Rand. Donna Sondergill. Kristen Thomas. John Turner. Bernadette Vincent. Chancellor, I now present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Teaching. Rebecca Howe. Wendy Marsh. Katie Newell. Susan Randall. Chancellor, I now present a graduate who's been granted the Bachelor of Adult and Vocational Teaching with first-class honours, Paul Ainsworth. Chancellor, I now present two graduates who have been granted the Graduate Certificate in Higher Education, Piyush Marishwari. Barbara Smith. Chancellor, I now present two graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Adult and Vocational Education. Edward Seabrook. Jacqueline Thomas. Chancellor, I present two graduates who have been granted the Graduate Diploma of Education. Elsa Partis. Deanna Rice Erickson. Chancellor, I now present graduates who have been granted the Master of Arts in Applied Linguistics. Gail Coleman. Margaret Keach. Helen C. Chancellor, I now present graduates who have been granted the Master of Education. Janelle Bressau. John Budby. Maureen Durney. Elaine Felstead. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Education.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Education and the Arts.
Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Creative Art, Peter Mann. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Japanese, Peter Bassingthwaite. Catherine Bleakley. Anne Cornick. Wendy King. Janelle McNeil. Brendan Marazzi. Kate Perkins. June Timlock. Kelly Ward. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Education. Tom Connor. Joanne Ferguson. Kerry Ann Ray. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Teaching. Jennifer Andrews. Denise Hartigan. Leanne Keane. Helen Schmidt. Melinda Steffens. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Graduate Certificate in Teaching of English as a Second Language, Angeline Nosira. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Master of Education, Judith Blake. Nancy Brown. Ian Lutit. Kenneth McNeil. Ross Phillipson. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of the Faculty of Education and the Arts.
Chancellor, the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Science. John Biokley. Lisa Martin. Tommy Soquinto. Susan Tarrant. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Science with first-class honours. John Van Roy. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of courses of the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Science.
Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Australian and Comparative Studies. Marion Adamson. Anne Agnew. Gilroy Bambrick. David Brennan. Michael Bridie. Michael Ferraris. Maureen Follers. Wendy Gardner. Anne Higgins. Judith Jobson. Joan Melville. Margot Pritchard. Claudia Stoops. Deirdre Ting. Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts in Humanities. Monica Attard. Nilesh Bhatia. Stephen Booth. Ingrid Elenius. Jason Klein. Maria Kuljanik. Gemma Light. David John Maloney. Debbie Overall. Sandra Schofield. Ashwina Singh. Diane Sutherland Lockhart. Ralph Traynor. Cynthia Woodward. Chancellor, I present two graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Arts with second-class honours Division A in Humanities. Joe Gregory. George Lycouris. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Bachelor of Arts with second-class honours Division B in Humanities. Peter Lawrence. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Arts in Cultural Policy Studies, Emma Felton. Chancellor, I present a graduate who has been granted the Master of Arts in Film and Television Studies, Christopher Wright. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates of humanities.
Chancellor, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor and Director of the Gold Coast campus will now present graduates of the Faculty of Nursing and Health Sciences.
Chancellor, I present graduates who have been granted the Bachelor of Nursing. Karen Baskerville. Leslie Cormack. Julie Ann Drayton. Danielle Galea. Melissa Homan. Jagdeep Kaira. Maria McLaughlin. Franca Morosini. Kathy Nesvabada. Stephen Nolan. Cassandra O'Connor. Clement Yulcool. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of graduates from the Faculty of Nursing and Health Sciences.
Chancellor, the Chairperson Academic Committee will now present graduates who have been granted the degrees of Master of Philosophy and Doctor of Philosophy.
Chancellor, the Master of Philosophy degree is a program of supervised research training culminating in a thesis which must demonstrate the candidate's knowledge of a particular discipline and research topic, a capacity for clear, methodical thinking, and the ability to present the results of research in a succinct and cogent form. Tonight, the University is proud to honour its graduates who have satisfied these criteria for the award of the degree. Chancellor, Elizabeth Mona Mason has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Education. The title of Miss Mason's thesis is The Effect of Attributional Strategy Training Programs on the Achievement Behaviour of Underachieving, Adolescent, Gifted and Academically Talented Girls. Chancellor, I present Elizabeth Mona Mason, who has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy. Chancellor, Elizabeth Mary Stevens has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Education. The title of Miss Stevens' thesis is The Nature and Role of Parental Support in a French Immersion Program in Australia. Chancellor, I present Elizabeth Mary Stevens, who has been granted the degree of Master of Philosophy. Chancellor, before proceeding with the presentation of graduates who have been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, I shall, with your approval, read a citation introducing each of those graduates. Chancellor, the degree of Doctor of Philosophy is awarded to a graduate who has successfully completed a prescribed program of study, principally of research. A thesis embodying the outcome of the research is the principal basis of examination. The degree is only awarded if the examiners are satisfied that the thesis makes a significant and original contribution to knowledge and understanding of the field of knowledge with which it is concerned. Tonight, the University is proud to honour its Doctor of Philosophy graduates who have satisfied these rigorous criteria for the award of the degree. Chancellor, Ailsa Jessie Grant has taken the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in the Faculty of Asian and International Studies. There have been many studies of urban development in Asia, but most have concentrated on large cities and have been contemporary in focus. The study of Malang, a medium-sized city in East Java, takes a long view of its historic development, its relations with government, with private enterprise, with other cities, and with its hinterland, and reveals important dimensions of urban growth often ignored in the literature on urbanism. Dr. Grant has shown that the greatest impetus to urban growth in Malang's case has been private investment, notably in the decades before the turn of the 20th century and more recently over the last decade. Chancellor, Dr. Grant's research has been accepted as satisfying the requirements for the award of the degree. Chancellor, Michelle Claire de Courcy has been granted the degree of philosophy taken in the Faculty of Education. Dr. de Courcy's research explored students' experiences of learning a second language in a school program in which most of the normal school curriculum was taught in the second language, that is, in what are referred to as immersion programs. Dr. de Courcy found similar effects for French and Chinese immersion, namely, that students preferred to follow the normal curriculum rather than relate to the new language to unfamiliar topics, that English should not be used in the classroom, and that the development of bilingualism was most apparent in the use of private speech and in switching between languages involuntarily. Chancellor, Dr. de Courcy's research has been accepted as satisfying the requirements for the award of the degree. Chancellor, Anne Margaret Diamond has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Arts, of Education and the Arts. Dr. Diamond investigated the effects of schooling on the development of female subjectivity in a group of Queensland high school girls over 3 years. Dr. Diamond showed that the school's experiences reinforces what and how girls think about gender relations. Dr. Diamond identified a discourse of gender in the teaching cycle and the rules of the school that systematically maintains female subordination. The thesis shows that changes to the school gender role result in girls perceiving different possibilities in their lives. Chancellor, Dr. Diamond's research has been accepted as satisfying the requirements for the award of the degree. Chancellor James Peter Mincikowski has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Education and the Arts. Dr. Mincikowski conducted ethnographic research with people in institutionalised health settings. Research interviews were written into scripts and performed as drama with patients as the audience. Dr. Mincikowska has shown that dramatic performances of this type have potential to break the cycle of alcohol addiction, and that ethnodrama can satisfy research and performance requirements. His work contributes to a better understanding of relationships between critical theory and emancipatory practices in health service provisions. Chancellor, Dr. Mincikowski's research has been accepted as satisfying the requirements of the award of the degree. Chancellor, Mark Daniel Hayes has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy taken in the Faculty of Humanities. In his thesis, Dr. Hayes has demonstrated the shortcomings of the most important existing theories of domination. Dr. Hayes has then provided a revised framework for the analysis and interpretation of domination. In the empirical part of his thesis, Dr. Hayes has shown that his revised framework for the analysis and interpretation of domination leads to a new theoretical and practical insights when it is applied to the study of Gandhian nonviolence. In this way, Dr. Hayes has made a substantive contribution to both the theory and practice of contemporary peace studies. Mr. Chancellor, that concludes the introduction of the candidates. I now ask that they be presented with their awards. Chancellor, I present Ailsa Jessie Grant, who has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Chancellor, I present Michelle Claire de Courcy, who has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Chancellor, I present Anne Margaret Diamond, who has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Chancellor, I present James Peter Mincikowski, who has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Chancellor, I present Mark Daniel Hayes, who has been granted the degree of Doctor of Philosophy. Chancellor, that concludes the presentation of Doctor of Philosophy graduates.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will now be a brief musical interlude performed by the Griffith University Collegiate Singers.
I'm red, black, and yellow, fine looking fellow, all because I eat my green. Chomp, chomp. Try this for a while. It's great exercise. Seems like so much splendid pets. What competition? What definition? I'm red, black, and yellow, a fine-looking fellow, all because I eat mine. Oh, how I love mine. It's all because I eat mine. My collies and bees. Perish the blues in the world of green.
Chancellor, the Vice-Chancellor will now present a candidate for the award of the Medal for Outstanding Service and a candidate for the degree of Doctor of the University.
Chancellor, the Medal for Outstanding Service may be awarded to honour any member of the staff of the University or any other person who has provided exceptional service to the University in the course of the person's association with the University. Chancellor, the University is particularly honoured tonight to recognise the invaluable contributions of Mr. Robert Browning. As manager of the Cooperative Bookshop on the Nathan campus since 1975, Mr. Browning has provided exceptional service to the university community over a long period of time. His experience and expertise have contributed significantly to the development of the Cooperative Bookshop, and his achievements have been witnessed and appreciated by successive generations of academics, administrators and students. In a period of dynamic growth for the university, he has worked diligently to ensure that the professional and cultural needs of a diverse clientele have been met. As well as being a dedicated professional, Mr. Browning has been noted for providing an honest, sincere and caring service. His consistent support and encouragement over the years have enriched the life of the university community, and his commitment and high standards have been an example for others to follow. With his retirement last month, Mr. Browning has left a legacy which will be remembered for a long time by all those who know him. The University Council resolved to award the University Medal for Outstanding Service to Mr. Browning in recognition of his valuable contributions to the University over an extended period of time. Chancellor, I present to you Robert Browning, who has been awarded the Medal for Outstanding Service. Chancellor, I now present a candidate for the degree of Doctor of the University. The Council of the University has resolved to award the degree of Doctor of the University to Jeanette Turner Hospital. Jeanette Turner Hospital was born in Melbourne in 1942 and educated at Wilston State School and Mitchelton State High School in Brisbane. After obtaining a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Queensland, as well as a teaching diploma from the then Kelvin Grove Teachers College, she taught at Mossman High School in North Queensland. She later moved to Canada, where she graduated from Queen's University with a Master of Arts degree. Bored and frustrated with teaching in Kingston, she turned to writing in 1975. She won her first award in 1978 for a short story published in the magazine Atlantic Monthly. This story was later developed into a novel called The Ivory Swing, which won the $50,000 Seal Award in 1982, Canada's leading literary prize for a first novel and the world's second richest literary prize behind the Nobel Prize for Literature. The book was published in Canada, America, Britain, Australia, Sweden and Finland, and was listed as Editor's Choice by the Washington Post newspaper. Since her first book, Jeanette Turner Hospital has won critical acclaim for her work both in Australia and overseas. As well as The Ivory Swing, 1982, she's written 6 other bestsellers, including The Tiger in the Tiger Pit, 1983, Borderline, 1985, Dislocations, 1986, Charades, 1988, Isobars, 1990, and The Last Magician, 1992. Praised for her evocative use of language and imagery and her exquisitely drawn characters, she is the recipient of numerous literary awards. She was named in Canada's Best 10 Younger Writers for 1986, including the Editor's Choice, as well as Best Short Fiction 1985 and 1987. Her novel Borderline was runner-up for the National Book Award Australia at the Adelaide's Arts Festival in 1986, and her novel Charades was shortlisted for the prestigious Miles Franklin Literary Award in 1989. Her short fiction appeared in Best Short Stories UK on 3 separate occasions in the early 1990s. As well as being passionate about her writing, Jeanette Turner Hospital is also dedicated to the academic life. She has been a writer in residence at Boston University, the University of Sydney, La Trobe University, the University of Ottawa, and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. More recently, she has been working as writer in residence for Queen's University at the Hurstmonceux Castle campus in the United Kingdom. It is an irony of her nomadic lifestyle that she has been writing a novel set in outback Queensland whilst ensconced in the battlements of a 15th century castle. Despite her wide travels and living in Canada and the United States, Jeanette Turner Hospital's thoughts remained firmly entrenched in Australia, in its people and its landscapes. Her Australian background permeates most of her work, whether it be the mystique of the North Queensland rainforests or Brisbane's subtropical hazes. She has the unique talent of making familiar worlds seem exotic and mysterious, including everyday places such as her family grocer's on Newmarket Road, Samford's rural environs, or Sugar Donuts in McWhirters. Her finely honed curiosity and faith in humanity has distilled itself in sharply observed characters and a lyrical style that is vibrant with life. Jeanette Turner Hospital has intimated that it is the very expressiveness of Queensland that has captured her imagination, with its rich imagery of droughts and floods, dust bowl and Daintree jungle continuing to surface in her short stories and novels. She has described Queensland as a permanent mood that one carries around the world, and that absence from her beloved state has acted as a powerful aphrodisiac. She says, as you grow older, the primitive things have a stronger and stronger force that pull you back to your starting place. In the mind and prose of Jeanette Turner Hospital, Queensland will always remain a lush lyric poem. It is fitting that the Council of Griffith University should honour Jeanette Turner Hospital in recognition of her distinguished contributions to literature. Chancellor, it is with very great pleasure that I present to you Jeanette Turner Hospital for admission to the degree of Doctor of the University.
I now call upon Jeanette Turner Hospital, Doctor of the University, to deliver the occasional address.
Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, distinguished guests, graduates, members of the University, ladies and gentlemen. I wish, first and foremost, to express my very great pleasure, didn't expect to feel quite so overwhelmed, in fact, in receiving the honour conferred upon me this evening. I am particularly pleased to be so honoured in my hometown of Brisbane and my home state of Queensland, surrounded by so many friends with whom I was at primary school and high school and university and teachers' college. And now that I'm Dr. Hospital, maybe I'll be able to come up with a more sophisticated answer to a rather startling phone call I received a few years ago. Without any warning or preamble whatsoever, a somewhat panicky and sepulchral voice asked, "Are you the one that takes blood?" And then there was one year when we were listed in the yellow pages of the Boston telephone directory. If you looked up hospital in the white pages, you found a one-line entry. It said, "Hospitals, see yellow pages." And there, just below Boston City Hospital, was my husband's name, the Clifford Hospital. We received a number of rather interesting and curious phone calls and letters as a result of this listing, but my favourite was a letter from Italy, addressed to the Registrar, the Clifford Hospital, Cambridge, Massachusetts. "Dear Sir," it said, "I am a medical student studying at the University of Bologna. I wish to do my internship in the United States. I have heard of the fame of your hospital and request that you send me the necessary application forms," etc. So you can see, with such a history of misunderstandings, I couldn't help wondering if another mistake had been made when I received the following fax with this helpful advice. I quote, "It has now been determined which faculties will be presenting graduates at the September 95 ceremony. You may find this information useful in the preparation of a speech which would be of interest to all the faculties concerned. Those faculties are Faculty of Asian and International Studies, Business and Hotel Management, Engineering and Applied Science, Education, Education in the Arts, Humanities, Nursing, Health and Science." My first thought was, oh my God, how on earth do I find common ground between engineering and nursing, hotel management and the arts, Asian studies and applied science? But then I'm a writer, and writers instinctively turn to storytelling as a way of solving riddles and untangling contradictions. So my second thought was of a story, a true story, about the sculptor Alberto Giacometti at a moment when he felt overwhelmed by conflicting possibilities. Giacometti was one of the great sculptors of this century, a Swiss, and the Swiss, as you know, have a considerable reputation for decorum and moral rectitude. When Giacometti was 18, he was a newly enrolled student at the School of Fine Arts in Geneva. Like all 18-year-old boys, all normal ones, especially those who grew up in strict societies, and especially if they're still virgins, Giacometti was a little obsessed with sex at the time. Imagine his turmoil at one of his first classes when there in front of him appeared an extremely curvaceous and entirely nude model named Lulu. Draw her in whatever way you want, the instructor said. Well, what sensual plenitude for a young artist. How to decide on focus. Giacometti began drawing with obsessive energy. He did sketch after sketch, angle after angle, more and more detailed anatomical studies. And every single sketch was a more and more detailed study of Lulu's foot. He never got above the ankle. But what a sexy foot. All of Lulu's sensuality was captured in that arch and those tendons. Well, it seemed to me I had to cast around for the equivalent of Giacometti's foot for this speech. And so my third thought was of three outstanding figures of this century who dealt in incongruous combinations, the way the rest of us manage complicated maneuvers like reading the newspaper and eating breakfast at the same time. I decided to make them the patron saints of this talk and of my words of advice to today's graduates. Officially, they're scientists, but they can never be easily corralled into any one faculty or department. I speak of Benoit Mandelbrot, who's still living, and of Heisenberg and of Einstein, who aren't. Benoit Mandelbrot is the father of fractal geometry, of the mathematics of chaos, and of the famous Mandelbrot set, the most complex problem set in mathematics, which, pictured diagrammatically in color on a computer screen, looks like a sumptuous Midsummer Night's Dream of some silken textile designer, all rich paisley swirls and seahorses. Mandelbrot is currently Distinguished Professor of Mathematics at Harvard University, although when the New York Times Sunday magazine did a profile of him a few years ago, other distinguished mathematicians from across the country were quoted as saying, "Whatever it is that Mandelbrot is, he's not one of us." A few years ago, Mandelbrot listened to himself being introduced before a public lecture as someone who had taught economics at Harvard, engineering at Yale, physiology at the Einstein School of Medicine, statistical theory at IBM, before winding up back at Harvard as professor of mathematics. When he got up to speak after this introduction, he said, "I sometimes wonder if I exist." Indeed, in each field in which he has worked and taught, Mandelbrot has been regarded as a renegade. It has been said of him that he has failed to exist with distinction in a long line of different fields. Heisenberg was an excellent classics student. He read Greek and Latin literature. He also loved German literature, knew most of Goethe by heart, and was a fine pianist. But he won the Nobel Prize for Physics for his work on quantum mechanics in 1932. And Einstein, well, he doesn't need an introduction. But these three were traffickers in incongruities, to use the phrase of Howard Gardner, the foremost conductor of research into the phenomenon of creativity. And Gardner sees the essence of creativity to lie precisely there, in crossing traditional boundaries, breaking the rules, trafficking in incongruities, whether we're talking about quantum physics or hotel management or teaching in a classroom. Creative people, he says, are radical disregarders of received notions of the proper boundaries. Let me explain this at the simplest level, the level at which all of us truly are creative geniuses, in childhood and in dreams. Piaget noted that if a child is given a crayon and asked to draw a truck, the child is just as likely to pretend that the crayon is a truck and to race it around a tabletop, making vroom vroom noises. Later, in school, the child will be taught that the correct relationship between a crayon and a truck is a flat outline on a piece of paper, and the child will forget all the other possible creative links between crayon and truck. Fortunately, children, especially preschool children, don't yet know the proper boundaries, and so they disregard them all the time. Children are wildly creative, but alas, we grow into dullness. We are educated into conformity. Most of us only tap that free-floating creativity again in dreams. Most of us. But some people manage to hang on to a childlike innocence and onto daydreaming. Artists, scientists who make breakthroughs, outstanding school teachers, administrators, hotel managers, ordinary people in their most fortunate creative moments. Listen to what Einstein had to say on the importance of daydreaming in his life. When I examine myself and my methods of thought, I come to the conclusion that the gift of fantasy has meant more to me than my talent for understanding scientific knowledge. At the Media Lab at MIT, where I have been fortunate enough to teach, it's one of the foremost institutes of scientific research in the world. Researchers regularly bring in young school children between the ages of 6 and 10 and let them loose on the computers. They watch what the children do. The director of the institute reports that some of his most brilliant breakthroughs have come from 7-year-olds. So here's my first piece of creative advice to tonight's graduates, whatever their field of endeavor. Daydream on. Watch your children. Listen to your children. Become childlike again within your own specialty and slither outside that rigid frame of orthodox thought. And above all, take your daydreaming seriously. There's something else besides creative genius that Mandelbrot, Heisenberg, and Einstein had in common, and that was failure. Mandelbrot, the great mathematician, never mastered the multiplication table above the 5 times level. He never had any formal schooling in mathematics because he spent most of what would have been his school years as a Jewish refugee hiding in France. He used to keep himself occupied while he was hiding by setting himself complicated mathematical riddles and working them out from his own invented first principles. After the war, when he was able to take the university entrance exam in mathematics, he did rather poorly because he didn't know any of the rules or the equations, but he squeaked through by working things out the long way round. Heisenberg almost failed his PhD thesis, his PhD thesis orals, because he couldn't answer a simple question on how a battery worked. He had a PhD committee of 3 professors. The one who asked him the question about the battery wanted to fail him. A second professor said he was the most brilliant physics student the University of Munich had ever had and wanted to give him first-class honors. The third suggested they compromise, so he was passed with a gentleman's C. Einstein, as a child, was very late in learning to talk. He was dyslexic. He failed to graduate from the gymnasium, which is our equivalent of high school, and failed to get into university on his first try. And when he did finally graduate from university, he was unable to get an academic teaching position. In other words, to cite Howard Gardner again, the secret of those who make great creative breakthroughs in whatever field is not that they don't face obstacles and not that they don't have failures. The secret lies in how they react to obstacles and failures. So here's my second piece of advice to tonight's graduates. You reached a joyful and important milestone, and we all congratulate you. But starting almost immediately, next month, if not this one, you're going to come up against the little slings and arrows that wait for every career and every life. My advice is to regard each setback and each failure as a sort of lucky break pushing you on to greatness. Greet it as an interesting challenge. Say to yourself, well, given that I've slammed into this ghastly dead end, or given that I've dug myself into this very deep hole, what's the most interesting thing I can do while I'm here? And lest you think this is glib armchair advice, let me tell you that my own experience, my nomadic life, my tangential career redirections, and several career dead ends have all convinced me that there are no roadblocks one can't get around. Not only that, one's life and one's career are all the richer for the detours. I have about 5 aborted careers behind me. Each time one changes countries, one's credentials from all previous countries are not recognized. One has to start again from scratch. I began as a high school teacher in Queensland, but also from economic necessity or geographical necessity or both. I've been a librarian at Harvard University, a dressmaker for a high fashion boutique in Boston, a draftsman for an engineering firm of precision tool makers in London, a sort of makeshift temporary expert on 101 ways to cook paddy rice and coconuts in a South Indian village, a lecturer in English in a maximum security prison for men in Canada, and a lecturer in medieval literature at various universities in various countries, and most recently a writer in residence at various universities in various countries. I'm beginning to feel a bit like Mandelbrot. I feel that my resume should read, "She has failed to hold permanent positions in a long list of different fields in different countries." But Howard Gardner suggests that the great creative breakthroughs, whether we're talking about the arts or physics or architecture or innovations in education or changes in management styles, all come on the far side of failure and of dead ends. It's when there's no way on and no way out that new routes and new ways of traveling are forged. I remember not long ago being riveted by one response to the kind of setback that none of us, I trust, will ever encounter. Perhaps many of you have read that remarkable book, Life and Death in Shanghai by Nian Cheng. Nian Cheng was born in Peking in 1915, and she received a degree from the London School of Economics in 1938. She married a Chinese diplomat, and in the 40s they lived in Canberra. In the 50s, after their return to China, she was a management advisor to Shell Petroleum. Her husband died on the eve of the Cultural Revolution, and during those chaotic times, her teenage daughter was captured and beaten to death by the Red Guards, and she herself was arrested and kept in solitary confinement for 6.5 years. She was put in a small cell with only a dirty cot and a toilet bowl. The cell was filthy, it smelled bad, there were wet patches of slime on the walls. She was given a copy of the works of Chairman Mao and a number of sheets of paper on which she was to write her confession as a running dog of imperialism and an enemy of the people. A situation as extreme as that would double most of us up with misery and paralyze us. And she did feel acute anxiety about her daughter, but she said to herself, "Is there anything I can do right now that will make me feel a little less miserable?" And she took the pages that she'd been given for writing her confession, and she pasted them like wallpaper over the patches of slime on the walls. She felt so proud of herself when she'd done this that her energy and courage began to return, and it was by such small daily acts of creative thinking that she triumphantly survived those years of solitary confinement and humiliation. So, graduates, in saluting you, what better thing can I wish you than many obstacles, failures, setbacks, and roadblocks, and the creative energy to get around them triumphantly. Thank you.
Chancellor, it's my pleasure, on behalf of everyone gathered here tonight, to thank Jeanette Turner Hospital for her remarkable address to our graduates and to the congregation tonight. It is, of course, publishable, as you would expect of an author of such distinction, and we must try to pay attention to that. It is remarkable to be reminded of the background of great achievers, such as she's mentioned, Mandelbrot, Heisenberg, Einstein, and to be reminded that it is very important to look at difficulties positively. I jotted down her advice, and I hope all her graduates have. Daydream on, watch children, listen to children. And then her second advice, when slings and arrows come, regard each setback as a lucky break. Well, that was startling, and it's a lesson to us all. Jeanette Turner Hospital, thank you very much for visiting us and for joining our distinguished band of doctors of the university, and may we wish you every success in the future. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment, the Griffith University Collegiate Singers will sing the traditional student song Gadiama Sigatur. You are invited to join in the singing of the song, whose words appear on page 23 of your programs. Please rise as the singers enter and remain standing during the singing. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the graduation ceremony is now concluded. When the fanfares begin, please remain standing as the Deus Party, the staff procession and the graduates retire. Thank you.